Hi, I'm Nikki. On the other side is Vikram Rangnekar. He joins us from Toronto in Canada. So this is going to be a quick chat focusing specifically on the possible repeal of the H4 EAD and some possible plan Bs. A quick note on where we both fit into this conversation. I've been tracking the human side of the H4 story as part of my work. Vikram got in touch with me for the first time after reading one of those stories. So he was on an H1B in the US, and in the sixth year, he dumped the idea of waiting for his PR and moved to Canada. We are putting out this content today as a resource for foreign workers in the US who may benefit from hearing about Vikram's particular experience and how he has played it. So, Vikram, what's the case you're making in case the H4 is indeed walked off the cliff?
Well, my case is mostly focused on, on like technology players and, people with software skills. That's kind of where I fit in. That's my experience. So, I chose to move to Canada, obviously, because I couldn't wait forever for, permanence in some sort of way. I had plans, I had ideas, I wanted to work on my own startup and, things of that nature. So, but and I understand it's a hard decision because people have invested in a place, and my decision is less about like where what kind of about the problems about staying in the US. It's more about what can Canada offer in terms of like obviously a great quality of life, and good work. I mean, there are a lot of companies that are US based companies that are now in Canada, plus successful Canadian companies like Shopify. So if you're, if one of your hurdles is, hey, will I get, be able to work for a great company there? I mean, that's the case now in Toronto. I wouldn't say that was the case years ago, but things are changing like really fast. For
I'll
example,
pick
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I'll pick up where you left off. So, one of the primary concerns for anyone thinking of this change, because of the problems they're facing elsewhere, is what next? What do they do when they get there? How long is it going to take to find work? So, do you want to just lead them through this?
Well, so there are a couple ways you can be part of Canada, right? The first way is you can apply for PR. So, that's a process that takes about 6 months. It's point based. So, that's a lot of people take that path and that gives them a lot more flexibility. The other way is to get a job here with a Canadian company. And you don't, and essentially that's been a problem because Canadian companies have traditionally not hired overseas. Also, the tech economy here has not been as, big as the US. So, that kind of brings all the numbers down. Uh, and Also like getting in touch with these companies and actually like presenting yourself and, being able to explain to them why, you're a great candidate. So I think kind of each one kind of has, posed a problem to people who wanted to come here, but things are changing quickly. Like in a place like Toronto, Amazon, Uber, they're all expanding, they're all hiring. There are, big but relatively smaller companies like Instacart. There is H2O.ai. There is Coursera that moved in a couple months ago. So all of these guys are, hiring like 100+ engineers, and they're growing fast in downtown Toronto. I know a lot of, people who've moved here from the States and other parts of the world to work for these companies. And many of them do come in through the work visa system. There is a new work visa process called the Global Talent Stream, GTS, and that actually has made it really easy and fast for companies to hire internationally. Like you can get one within a month, and there are no caps and quotas, so it's more open to and easier for companies to use. Uh, Essentially, my site movenorth.com is focused on this problem because essentially what started off as just a blog to help educate people about Canada has evolved into like a platform that helps connect people who want to move here and people with technical skills, software development skills with Canadian companies. And we're trying to bridge this gap in many ways. Obviously, we're a software platform, so it's easy for people to create their profile, and then we work with companies to help help them kind of find these people. So we've also had to like do a lot of education, even tell people about their, companies about their own visa. I mean, like, hey, there is GTS. You can actually leverage this. We have people who can help you with that, and kind of, there's a lot that we try to do to kind of bridge this gap. Obviously it's educating, people that Canada is a great place, and that, there is a tech economy here, it's growing, and, it's high quality of life, and this is how you can move here. And also about companies, and tell them that, hey, there is this huge pool of really experienced talent out there that you need to hire, and that's how Silicon Valley was built. And this is how you can hire them. So we're doing all of that groundwork, and, on top of the software platform.
Okay, so from the time we spoke last, I think it was more than a year ago to now, I think the GTS is the new piece here. It wasn't there at that time, I think. When you say it's easy, when you say it can be done as quickly as a month, what's required from the person who's applying? Let's say, what do they need to do?
So most of the companies on our platform so firstly, our platform, Move North at least, is focused on, we only work with companies who are hiring internationally. Doesn't mean they're not hiring locals, but they're also looking for these experienced people who can bring in new kind of skills, mentorship, and, leadership, to Canada. And they themselves don't have to do anything. Most of these companies have in-house, counsel, they have in-house hiring teams and the visa is something they apply for. And essentially there are, the prerequisites are that, your job needs to kind of be a technical thing that can help Canada. And essentially there's nothing the person coming in has to do. He just has to get the job. So,
Yeah, so what you're saying is GTS is essentially given once the job is certain, and it's leaning towards tech. Have I got it right?
As far as again, I'm not an immigration lawyer or anything,
Yeah, that's
disclaimer.
fine. Yeah.
So my understanding is, yes, it's kind of leaning towards certain categories that Canada wants to bring people in for. And, and it's something the company has to do entirely. Essentially, it's granted, there is like an SLA of 10 days. And if a person is from a like if you're from a country that doesn't need a visa to come to Canada, then you can apparently like come in the second it's granted, like 10 days. And if you're from a country like India or China, or, a country that needs a visa, then I think it takes like a couple more weeks to get that visa. But essentially it's pretty fast, and, from what I've seen.
Okay.
And yeah.
Last
But
question,
yes,
Vikram.
sorry,
Yeah.
just to kind of
Yeah.
add to that, yes, it's a work visa, and, why come on another work visa kind of thing. I think the advantage here is that Canada has a very clear path to permanence. It's essentially, you can come here, you can apply for your own PR, you can so many options, and it's a path. Even citizenship is like it's a 3-year path from the point of PR, and, obviously your whole family can work, and, all of these advantages. So.
Okay. Last question. Do you know of anyone who's actually got the GTS? And without taking names, can you give us their example?
Oh, I mean, if you go to movenorth.com, we've got 3 profiles in front. I mean, mine's included, and I didn't come in on a GTS, came on a PR, but, the other 2 did, and we're putting up more profiles of people who've come in on a GTS. So I'd say Instacart has hired a lot of like talent. They've all come on GTS. People have moved from Uber. They've come in on intercompany transfer visas or GTS visas. There's Coursera is hiring, on the GTS visa. So there is a lot of movement kind of happening. And yes, I'm kind of like talking about the big brand names, like with the US leaning kind of brand names, because that's what we work with and I'm familiar with. But lots of Canadian companies. There's one company called Soti we're working with. They're sponsoring that visa. So, right now I'm kind of concentrating on Toronto, but, this is happening even in Vancouver and Montreal.
Right. Yeah.
And Montreal, I think I don't know enough, but like in Canada, one thing people need to know is that the provinces have a lot more power. So, for example, if you are applying for a PR, a province can actually give you they can like throw the ACE in, which is, they call it a PNP, where they can just like grant you 600 points, and then you're like, so it's not only federal that controls everything per se. Even Quebec, for example, Montreal, which is also a great place to live, and Move North also has this community forum, so there's a lot of discussion there. So people want to kind of follow up with these and get more information. It's a good place to go to. There are thousands of people talking about this. Like someone just explained why Montreal is a great place and why he chose to move there. So a place like Montreal has their own immigration rules in addition to Canada. So there's a lot more flexibility, across the board, I'd say.
Great. I think all this is useful information. Thank you, Vikram. Thanks for your time.
Sure. Thank you.